I wish you could enlighten us a little bit on an action that Civil Defense is engaged in down at Kalapana. It's actually outside my district a bit, but it's in Ms. Ruggles' district, regarding the vendors at the viewing area for the lava and what we're proceeding to do there. One thing I would say is when actions like that are taken in the community, it would be really great if Civil Defense would directly notify the council members involved, because we hear about it from our constituents is what ends up happening. So just stay in touch when actions like that are being taken so that we're aware. But if you would let us know what's going on there.
So a little briefing on the background on what's going on is Civil Defense has maintained some management of the active eruption site, the viewing area, despite it actually coming under Parks and Recreation. And I think that's just been a carryover from the past when it was a declared emergency zone, and the potential for it to go back into a emergency declaration. So, we've maintained some management over that. So with the current activity and the ocean entry that was developed in the previous year, developed a niche market for tourism as far as biking. So there was vendors that were renting bikes, and a few food vendors and other crafts kind of developed down there. And the county went in there and developed infrastructure as far as parking and so forth for the visitors. And it got to the point where the mayor was receiving numerous calls, complaints from the resident community down there based upon, they were citing safety issues with pedestrians, bikers on the roadways. They sent us video of how the road was congested. Basically, the vendors had their structures that stayed up, erected, more than a 24-hour period. They were almost, they couldn't be permanent structures, but they're those canopy tents that were there all the time for that period. They occupied the road setback, the road shoulder, all the way to the fog line. And so when they work with their customers, basically they're working in the active roadway. So you've got the business operations in the active roadway, you've got visitors driving through that area, and you have the local residents that want to get in and out of their subdivisions. So there were safety issues, there's complaints from the local residents that kept coming. We know that a few of the vendors were legal as far as their requirements to the county and state, others weren't. And so that was, it operated for over the last year, and it got to the point where the mayor said that was enough. We put a task force, a work group together, come up with solutions, and it was decided that they needed to come into compliance with the laws, which requires them to get off of the no vending on the roadways, on the road setbacks. And their alternative is basically to, operate like any other legal business operating off of private property. And so we had planned a meeting for next week, April 25th, meet with these vendors to, tell them about the ordinance, and then to offer the county's direction as far as, how it is, what the process they need to do to become legal with, private business.
You're asking them to move off of the road shoulder or road right-of-way where they can't legally operate and onto private property. They can't just operate a business on private property without going through certain permitting. Am I correct?
Yes, that's part of the plan. We'll support them, give them all the information that they need to run a viable legal business, get the permits, you know, if they're going to do construction, you know, what they need to do, what permits they need for construction, what permits they need for running a business, everything.
That generally is, that takes some time to come into compliance. Are you allowing them some extension of time so that they can come into a compliance?
Absolutely. The deadline for them to move off the roadway is July 1st. You know, they've had a lot of time because we've been meeting with them over the last year. And, you know, you tell them, you know, move back, move off the roadway, tell them about the complaints they've had, you know, what it is, you know, that they could do. But they just keep doing what they want.
And there is no area down there where the county has land that they could operate on?
It's a kind of difficult situation because Mackay of the roadway is a special management area. So lengthy process, way beyond July 1st. The county doesn't have property, the state does. They their process was cumbersome, so it was just too lengthy a process for us to undertake. We looked at it, but this was the fastest, best solution that the mayor agreed to.
Okay, I'm just a little concerned because you're pushing off a responsibility onto private property owners, whether or not they accept that responsibility, whether they can move through the process any faster than you or the county could, is questionable because getting a special permit is a little cumbersome too. It's cumbersome on the private sector, so I think I don't know. I'll be at your meeting. Thank you.